Welcome, my dear guys and gals, to the discussion of how Alesh is the most underrated Vanguard in Arknight's Enfield. This is your host, Leakamish, and let's get started with the discussion. Arknight's Enfield, another gacha game under my belt. I do not have a problem. I just like a certain genre. But most importantly, the grind. But anyways, Enfield is a game I truly do enjoy. And also doesn't have characters that I absolutely despise either. Of course, one character stands above the rest, and that is my only maxed out character, Alesh. Now, of course, to explain why I love this character so much besides his killer design, in my opinion, we of course gotta go over those stats.
Ah, 場所ってここで合ってんのか？俺はアレッシュ。趣味は読書、特技は目閉じたまま臨終すること。ま、よろしく。
While I'm talking about Alesh's kit and stats, please pay attention to certain areas of the screen, and because those show up definitions for certain terms in his kit that you may not know. His basic attack is a 5 sequence that does physical damage, and when he's the controlled operator, the final strike deals 17 stagger. His basic attack functions like most other characters' basic attack. Alesh's skill is a single target that deals physical damage. After hitting an enemy with cryo infliction, it will consume all the target's cryo infliction stacks, applying solidification. This skill will recover SP based on the number of stacks consumed. It will only trigger one time, even if it hits multiple enemies. His combo skill triggers when Art's Reaction or Originium crystals are consumed. It will do a small EOE, dealing physical damage, recovering some SP. If the hook is a rare fin, then greatly increase the damage and recover more SP. His ultimate is a massive AoE that deals cryo damage and applies 1 stack of cryo infliction. It will generate some SP on hit, but for each additional enemy defeated, it will cover more SP. His first talent is after solidification or Originium crystals are applied to a nearby enemy, Alesh will gain 4 ultimate energy. If he does the solidification himself, he'll gain an additional +8 ultimate energy. His second talent improves his combo skill. For every 10 intellect you have, it will increase the chance of catching a rare fin. The maximum is up to 30%. Since Alesh is a 5-star, it is inevitable that you will rather quickly max out his potentials, so we'll go over those really quick. His first potential improves his battle skill, improving the SP recovery by an additional 10 SP. His third potential improves his combo skill. After catching a rare fin, he will buff his team with an attack of 15% for 10 seconds. His fourth potential just reduces the ultimate cost of his ult by 15%. His fifth potential improves his ultimate. Hitting an enemy below 50 HP increases the damage multiplier by 1.5 times. So, now that we're done analyzing Alesh's kit and his stats, you may wonder, what's the issue? Why does he seem like a lower tiered character compared to other Vanguards, or people's perception that he's a lower tier character? Well, it's because of the archetype he's in. The archetype is Vanguard. And Vanguard, your main purpose is to generate skill points so that your team can use more of their skills, right? So someone like the Fire Corgi, someone would use as more of a budget option. Or if you want to do a limited option, they'll use Pomegranate. Do not tell me how to say his name. I'm not saying I can't do it, okay? I'm never gonna say it right. So, what's the problem with that? Well, it's the way that Alesh's kit works. He relies a lot on consumption-based things, and that could be a bit situational depending on the team you're trying to run. For example, his combo skill requires you to consume a art's reaction, not just like an art's element, right? Like if you do like fire stacks or cryo stacks, or it has to be specifically a reaction, right? And oh, what happens if the enemy dies before you consume the reaction? You don't get the bonus. That's one of the most annoying things. Enfield, please fix that. Nothing is more annoying than hitting an enemy that has a reaction, but just because they die, it doesn't count as consumed. It's pretty annoying, right? Or another way is by consuming Originium arts, and well, only John Enfield himself, administrator, can do Originium arts. So if you don't like using him, that's another less of an option, right? And then we have the fact that you can earn SP through solidification. First of all, Alesh, he can't really put stacks on them that quickly. The only way he could do an ice stack is through his ultimate. Unlike other SP characters like the Corgi or Pomegranate, who can at least put on a stack by themselves, right? So it relies on other units. But if you look at the ice archetype when it comes to solidification, a lot of the times other units would want the solidification instead of having Alesh to do it. For example, Yvonne or Last Rite. So even in those comps, right? Like you're taking away the resource that they want to do just to generate a little bit more SP. And again, you need someone to constantly put on those cryo stacks in order for you to get the maximum amount of value of Alesh. So that's part of the problem. But here's where things change. What happens if we stop looking at him from a Vanguard standpoint, and we start abusing a little fact that you might have spotted in his kit? Let's get into that, shall we? So when it comes to a character's kit, the talents and potentials are the modifier to the kit, an enhancement of some kind. And what is the main thing we saw? Things regarding his ultimate and combo skill. So clearly the game wants those two things as the main focus. Let's go on ahead and find a team that would work well with his combo skill and take the biggest advantage of his kit. So let's start with the best first, shall we? This is my main Alesh team, and the team that I think is the most effective because of multiple aspects. Now, don't get me wrong, when the game continues to evolve and more characters are added, these characters can be swapped out, but I'm going to tell you the purpose of each character and why they synergize so well in this team. First of all, Tauntaun is because Tauntaun can go ahead and make cryo infliction stacks. Remember how I talked about earlier how Alesh could only do one through his ultimate? Now you have someone that can always apply those stacks, which means that Alesh could use his combo skill and get that solidification off. Not only that, but her combo trigger is easy to, well, trigger. A lot of the times we use her ability, she'll just trigger it herself. And then we have Administrator. Now remember, it was either solidification or Originium crystals that gives him the bonus, whether it is his combo skill or getting a more ultimate charge. Not only that, but Administrator is also a physical character that does a physical, well, debuff, which means that he is able to apply Shatter, and that's what happens when you apply a physical debuff to solidification. That also counts as an arts reaction, so that's another way to go ahead and trigger Alesh's combo skill besides of consuming the Originium crystals. Then we have Snowshine, who is mainly here just to exist. The skill points are mainly going to be distributed between Tauntaun, Administrator, and Alesh, so she is just here to be the, well, sustain, because her sustain is very easy to trigger. All you gotta do is be below half, and then she'll go ahead and trigger her combo skill, which will heal you and a lot of your team members back up. Now, of course, you could replace her with the Tech Nun, I like to call her, but the problem with her is that she can only heal one person and it requires skill points. So just in general, Snowshine is better for sustain, in my personal opinion. So now let's move on over to my budget team. So let's go over Snowshine again, because this time she's actually not just sitting around being the bot healer. As we use her skill, which is a parry, she'll also apply Cryo Infliction, which is nice because Perlica, who is the only one that can do Electric Infliction, can go ahead and create Electrification. And Arclight is all about that electrification, baby. She loves that thing. That's how all of her dashes and stuff gets made, honestly, and the SP she generates. Not only that, but Arclight can also do her own electrification through her ultimate, and Perlica can also do electrification through the combo skill if enough time has passed and you do a final strike. So this team right here just makes a lot of SP, and you just spam skill after skill after skill, and it's very satisfying to use. And now we have my suboptimal team, a team put together just because I like these characters and I kind of wanted them to be on the same team. I have a headcanon that Mifu and Tong Tong are lesbians, and they have dated each other or they are exes. So I wanted them to be on the same team together. Plus, just even if you don't believe in lesbian theory, they're still a pretty good pairing, right? Just seeing them interact in the story in general. So I put those two together, right? And then Catcher is here because Catcher holds a special place in my heart. He's one of the first characters I've really got into the game with and helped me get into Arcanite's Enfield. So I feel like he deserved a spot as well. But hey, this team isn't completely useless, right? We still have the Cryo Infliction for Alesh. And not only that, but Mifu can do Shatter. And also Alesh is here just because you need a Vanguard whenever using Mifu. She consumes a lot of SP, more than normal. So you kind of really want someone to help generate some of that. And then also Catcher's here to just put down vulnerability stacks for Mifu. So I could sometimes use her combo skill. Like I said, this team is not optimal. But due to Alesh's and Tong Tong's and Mifu's high damage, a lot of times I can still clear endgame content even with this very suboptimal team. And now that you know the basics we're looking for, right? We're looking for someone that could do Cryo Infliction. We're looking for someone that could do any arts reaction. And those are the main two things you need for Alesh to shine. All right, now we're to the point where Alesh truly shines. Have fun being debate! His ultimate. His ultimate makes him into a powerhouse, an amazing burst DPS that could just clear crowds of trash enemies or do a sizable chunk to a boss. So instead of just having your Vanguard over here using their skills and their combo skills, maybe occasionally using their ultimate to generate all this SP for you so your DPS does all the work, Alesh isn't afraid of work, and he could definitely do some. You see, this little bar right here can be filled extremely fast due to how Alesh works. Whether anyone else does solidification, so even if you do say the fact like, oh, I can't do his skill to solidify because Yvonne needs it, right? Alesh still gets benefit. He still gets ultimate charge. Not as much, but still a decent amount. Especially if you run my specific build right here. Now, if we head on over to its stats, you are going to see that, well, it got some numbers right there. So, first of all, we are decreasing how long it takes for him to get his ultimate. So we're moving that 100 marker a bit further down. And of course, combo that with some ultimate damage on top of it, so that we could get more bang for our buck when we absolutely spam this thing, right? And then we go on over to, well, the sword that I'm using. And oh, look at that right there. More ultimate gain efficiency. Wanna know what that means? If we total up the numbers, he nearly has 100% ultimate gain efficiency, which means that 100 number you saw earlier is now cut down to half of that. Okay, so editor's note here. About that value of 100, that actually is false. After looking at a couple of wikis, the value does say his ultimate is at 100. But you also have to remember that one of his potentials decreases that ultimate charge by 15%. Now, I thought this value would update in the game, but no. So this whole time I falsely thought that his ultimate was at 115, and then that 15% brought it down to 100. So when I'm actually talking about his ult, it's around 85, and we're cutting that down by half. Oh boy! So that +4 and that +8 gain from solidification doesn't seem so iffy now, does it? You also gotta remember, every time he uses his skill in general will generate ultimate charge. So you're just adding additional ultimate charge if you solidify an enemy. His combo skill adds to his ultimate charge. And so as long as these two things can just be spammed, all of a sudden this giant ice shark will come down and nuke the entire battlefield. Alright, that's enough of me talking. Now it's time for some enemies to be the bait.
You can't escape this!
And there you have it, the underrated Vanguard Alesh. Hopefully this video has changed your guys and gals' minds, right? Maybe you want to give Alesh a try. And trust me, he is worth it. Now, of course, I could go ahead and talk about his design and why I like it so much, especially the glasses part. But I think that's for a different video, because designs are subjective, and some of you might find him utterly repulsing. I, frankly, do not. But as I always say, this has been your host, Vikamish, opening the discussion to the comments below. Taking a rest, spamming more shark ults with Alesh, saying farewell to you all.